The massive alien ship moved through space like a silver whale cutting through dark water. Its smooth hull reflected the light from distant stars, and strange blue energy danced along its edges. Inside the ship, Ambassador Veltar stood before a large window, watching the small blue planet grow larger as they approached. Veltar had done this many times before. She was tall and thin, with pale purple skin and large black eyes. Her people, the Zephyrians, had been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years. They had found many worlds with intelligent life, and each time the story was the same. The primitive species would be amazed by their technology. They would beg to join the Galactic Federation. They would become happy members of the peaceful alliance that now included over 200 worlds. "Ambassador," said Commander Thex from behind her. He was shorter than Veltar, with the same purple skin but covered in small scales. "We are receiving signals from the planet. The humans want to talk." Veltar turned and smiled. "Of course they do. Have you prepared the standard demonstration?" "Yes, Ambassador. All systems are ready. The gravity manipulators are working perfectly. The energy shields are at full power. Our communication array is broadcasting in their primitive radio frequencies." Veltar walked to the command center of her ship, the Harmony's Grace. The ship was beautiful inside, with curved walls that glowed with soft light. Plants from dozens of different worlds grew in special gardens throughout the ship. Everything was designed to show peace and harmony. "Show me their messages," Veltar said. A holographic display appeared in the air. The image showed a human woman in what looked like a military uniform. She had short brown hair and serious eyes. When she spoke, the ship's computer translated her words. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. We welcome you to our solar system. We would be honored to meet with you and learn about your civilization. We have prepared a space station where we can meet safely." Veltar nodded. The human looked more organized than most species at this level. Usually the first contact was with confused scientists or frightened military leaders. This Admiral Chen seemed calm and prepared. "Very professional," Commander Thex said. "Though their technology appears quite basic. Their space station is simple metal construction. No energy shields, no gravity control." "That is normal," Veltar replied. "Most species are still using chemical rockets and basic metals when we find them. In a few hundred years, they will learn to build properly." She looked at the data about Earth that her scouts had collected. The humans had only recently learned to split atoms. They had basic computers and simple spacecraft. Their weapons were crude chemical explosives and primitive nuclear devices. They had not even learned to travel faster than light. "Send a message back," Veltar instructed. "Tell them we accept their invitation. We will dock with their station in 6 of their hours." As her ship moved toward the human space station, Veltar reviewed the standard first contact procedures. First, she would demonstrate their superior technology to establish respect. Then she would explain the benefits of joining the Federation. Finally, she would offer them protection and guidance in exchange for their loyalty and resources. It always worked. The primitive species were so amazed by advanced technology that they immediately understood their place in the galaxy. Some tried to resist at first, but once they saw what the Federation could offer, they always agreed to join. The human space station was larger than it had appeared from a distance. It was a ring-shaped structure spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. Simple but effective. Veltar approved of their practical engineering. "They are requesting permission to scan our ship," Commander Thex reported. "Should I refuse?" "Let them scan," Veltar said. "It will help them understand how much they have to learn." The Harmony's Grace moved close to the space station and extended a docking tube. The connection was smooth, showing that the humans at least understood basic engineering principles. "Ambassador," said Dr. Kyle, the ship's chief scientist, "the humans are using some interesting techniques in their construction. Their metal alloys are quite pure, and their energy systems are more efficient than expected." "How interesting," Veltar said, though she was not really surprised. Some species were naturally good at engineering. "Are you ready for the demonstration?" "All systems prepared, Ambassador. The asteroid field near their 4th planet will provide excellent targets for our weapons display." Veltar adjusted her ceremonial robes. They were made from silk that changed color in the light, another wonder that always impressed primitive species. She carried a small device that could translate any language instantly and a personal shield generator that could stop any weapon these humans might possess. "Remember," she told her team as they prepared to board the human station, "we are here to help them. They will be frightened and confused at first. Be patient with them. The airlock opened and Veltar stepped into the human space station. She was immediately surprised by what she saw. The corridors were clean and well lit, with smooth walls and floors. The air was fresh and comfortable. Most importantly, the humans waiting for her looked organized and professional. Admiral Chen stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Welcome to Sentinel Station, Ambassador Veltar. We are honored by your presence." Veltar was pleased by the respectful greeting. "Thank you, Admiral Chen. We are happy to make contact with your people." The Admiral led them through the station toward what she called the main conference room. As they walked, Veltar noticed more details that impressed her. The humans moved with military precision. Their equipment was simple but well maintained. The station itself was larger and more complex than it had appeared from outside. "Your station is quite impressive for your level of technology," Veltar said politely. "Thank you," Admiral Chen replied. "We have been working on space construction for several decades. We learn quickly when we need to." They entered a large room with windows looking out into space. Several other humans were waiting, including a man with gray hair wearing what appeared to be a scientific uniform. "This is Dr. Marcus Webb, our chief science advisor," Admiral Chen said, "and these are representatives from our major nations and space organizations." Veltar nodded to each human. They all seemed remarkably calm for people meeting aliens for the first time. Most species she encountered were either terrified or overly excited. These humans acted as if meeting aliens was just another day at work. "We have prepared a demonstration of our technology," Veltar announced. "We believe it will help you understand what we can offer your people." "We would be very interested to see your capabilities," Dr. Webb said. "We have always wondered what technologies other civilizations might develop." Veltar smiled. This was going exactly as planned. Soon these humans would understand their place in the galaxy, and Earth would become another peaceful member of the Federation. She had no idea that she was about to receive the greatest shock of her long career. The demonstration was about to begin, but Veltar did not know that the humans had been preparing for this moment for much longer than she could imagine. Earth's leaders had been planning for contact with alien civilizations for decades, and they had not been preparing to be impressed. Ambassador Veltar stood at the center of the conference room, her team arranged around her in a careful formation. Through the large windows they could see the Harmony's Grace floating beside the human space station. The ship's hull was glowing with soft blue light, ready to begin the demonstration. "Before we start," Veltar said to the assembled humans, "I want you to understand what you are about to see. My people have been traveling among the stars for over 3,000 of your years. We have learned to control the basic forces of the universe itself." Admiral Chen nodded politely. "We are very interested to learn about your achievements." Dr. Webb leaned forward in his chair. "Could you tell us more about your propulsion systems?" "We noticed your ship produces no visible exhaust." Veltar smiled. The humans were asking the right questions. "We have learned to manipulate gravity itself. Our ships can bend space around them, allowing us to travel faster than light without actually moving through normal space." She activated a small control device in her hand. Outside the window, the Harmony's Grace began to demonstrate. The ship moved in impossible ways, turning without using thrusters, accelerating and stopping instantly. Then it seemed to stretch and compress, showing how it could manipulate the space around it. "Remarkable," Dr. Webb said, making notes on a small tablet. "You are creating localized distortions in space-time. The energy requirements must be enormous." "Not as much as you might think," Commander Thek said proudly. "Once you understand how to work with quantum fields instead of against them, the process becomes quite efficient." The humans watched carefully as the alien ship performed more maneuvers. Veltar noticed they seemed more curious than amazed. Usually, primitive species would be gasping and pointing by now. These humans just observed and asked technical questions. "Now watch this," Veltar said. She signaled her ship again. A section of the Harmony's Grace opened, revealing a strange crystalline structure inside. Energy began to build around the crystal, creating a bright glow that could be seen through the station windows. "This is our main weapon system," Veltar explained. "It can focus energy into a beam powerful enough to destroy an asteroid or disable another ship without permanent damage." The energy beam shot out toward a large piece of space debris floating nearby. The debris glowed bright white for a moment, then simply disappeared, converted into harmless particles. The beam disrupts molecular bonds, Dr. Kyle added. It is completely clean. No radiation, no pollution. Admiral Chen watched the demonstration with interest. How do you contain and direct that much energy? Magnetic bottles and gravitational lensing, Commander Thex replied. The same technology we use for our engines. Dr. Webb looked up from his tablet. What about power generation? Fusion reactors? Fusion is primitive, Dr. Kyle said with a slight laugh. We use zero-point energy extraction. We take power directly from the quantum foam of empty space itself. Several of the humans exchanged glances. Veltar noticed this but assumed they were simply overwhelmed by the advanced concepts. Let me show you our defensive systems, Veltar continued. The Harmony's grace activated its energy shields. A shimmering barrier appeared around the ship, like a soap bubble made of light. To demonstrate its strength, the ship fired a small energy pulse at its own shields. The barrier absorbed the energy and converted it into harmless light. These shields can stop any physical attack, Veltar said. Projectiles, energy beams, even nuclear explosions. They make war almost impossible between advanced civilizations. How do the shields handle kinetic energy? Dr. Webb asked. They convert incoming kinetic energy into heat and light, then radiate it away harmlessly, Dr. Kyle explained. Admiral Chen stood up and walked to the window. Your technology is indeed impressive, Ambassador. Your civilization has achieved remarkable things. Veltar felt a warm glow of satisfaction. This was going perfectly. The humans were clearly impressed, even if they were trying to hide it behind professional behavior. There is more, she said. Our communication systems can send messages instantly across the galaxy. Our medical technology can extend life for thousands of years. Our manufacturing systems can create anything we need from basic elements. She gestured toward her ship again. This time, a section of the hull seemed to flow like liquid, reshaping itself into a different configuration. Our ships can repair and modify themselves. The hull is made of programmable matter that responds to our commands. One of the human representatives, a woman from their European nations, spoke up. How long did it take your people to develop these technologies? Many thousands of years, Veltar replied. But that is why the Galactic Federation exists. Species that join us can learn these technologies much faster. What took us millennia to discover, you can learn in mere centuries. And what do you ask in return? Admiral Chen asked. Here was the moment Veltar had been waiting for. Very little. We ask only that you follow the laws of the Federation. No wars between member species. No development of certain dangerous technologies. And a small contribution of resources to help maintain the peace. What kind of dangerous technologies? Dr. Webb asked. Weapons of mass destruction. Artificial intelligence beyond certain limits. Technologies that could threaten the stability of space-time itself, Commander Thex answered. We have learned that some discoveries are too dangerous to pursue, Veltar added. The Federation helps prevent civilizations from destroying themselves. The humans seemed to consider this carefully. Veltar waited patiently. This was always the moment when primitive species realized they had no choice but to accept Federation protection. Your offer is generous, Admiral Chen said finally. But before we make any decisions, perhaps you would like to see some of our technology as well? Veltar blinked her large dark eyes. This was not usual. Most species had nothing to show that would interest advanced aliens, but she had been trained to be polite to new species. Of course, she said. We would be honored to learn about human achievements. Admiral Chen smiled, but there was something in her expression that Veltar could not quite read. Excellent, Dr. Webb, would you begin the presentation? Dr. Webb stood up and walked to a control panel on the wall. I should mention that this station, which you called simple metal construction, is actually our most advanced orbital facility. We call it a Fortress-class battle station. Battle station? Commander Thex asked. But you said it was for research and diplomacy. It is, Admiral Chen replied. But we believe in being prepared for all possibilities. Dr. Webb activated the control panel. Outside the windows, the space around them began to change. Veltar watched in confusion as sections of what she had thought were simple metal walls began to move and reconfigure themselves. You see, Dr. Webb continued calmly, we have been aware that other intelligent species might exist in the galaxy. We have been preparing for contact for quite some time. Veltar felt the first stirring of unease as she watched more and more sections of the space station reveal hidden complexity. What she had taken for simple construction was transforming before her eyes. How long have you been preparing? She asked, though she was beginning to suspect she might not like the answer. Admiral Chen looked at her with those serious human eyes. Ambassador, we have been preparing for this conversation for over 60 years. The space around Sentinel Station was transforming before Veltar's eyes. What she had mistaken for simple metal construction was revealing itself to be something far more complex. Panels slid away to expose arrays of equipment she did not recognize. Structures that had seemed like communication towers were rotating and extending, taking on the unmistakable appearance of weapon systems. 60 years? Veltar repeated, her voice showing the first signs of worry. Since 1947 to be precise, Dr. Webb said, still operating the control panel. That was when we had our first definitive proof that we were not alone in the galaxy. Admiral Chen moved to stand beside the ambassador. We found wreckage of an alien spacecraft. It had crashed in a desert region of our planet. The technology was far beyond our understanding at the time, but we learned from it. Commander Thek stepped forward, his scales rippling with concern. That is impossible. No Federation ships have crashed on your world. Our safety records are perfect. Not Federation ships, Dr. Webb said quietly. Ships from what we later learned was called the Hegemony. They were scouts, we believe, sent to evaluate Earth for potential conquest. Veltar felt her blood growing cold. The Hegemony had been destroyed over 50 years ago by the Federation, but they had indeed been aggressive expansionists who enslaved primitive worlds. We studied the wreckage for decades, Admiral Chen continued. We learned about faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, and advanced materials. But most importantly, we learned that the galaxy was not a safe place for unprepared civilizations. Through the windows, more sections of the space station were revealing their true nature. What Veltar had thought were simple cargo areas were opening to show massive weapon systems. The station was not just large, it was a fortress, exactly as Dr. Webb had said. So we prepared, Dr. Webb said. We prepared for the possibility that whoever came next might not be as peaceful as you claim to be. A new section of the station's hull slid away, revealing something that made Veltar's hearts skip a beat. It was a cannon of some kind, but it was enormous, larger than anything on her ship. And there were dozens of them. Those weapons, Dr. Kyle whispered. What are they? Railguns, Admiral Chen said casually. They accelerate projectiles using magnetic fields. The largest ones can fire a slug at nearly 10% of light speed. Veltar did quick calculations in her head. A projectile moving at that speed would carry tremendous kinetic energy. Even their advanced shields might have trouble with such an impact. But that is not all, Dr. Webb said. He touched another control and the space around them lit up with new energy signatures. Veltar gasped. Ships were appearing out of nowhere, materializing as if from empty space. They had been there all along, hidden by some kind of cloaking technology. Stealth ships, Admiral Chen explained. We learned about bending light and hiding energy signatures from our analysis of alien technology. Each one is armed with weapons capable of destroying ships much larger than themselves. The ships that were appearing were not like anything Veltar had ever seen. They were sleek and angular, with hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with impossible precision, taking positions around the station and the Harmony's grace. How many ships? Commander Thek asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Currently, about 300 in this immediate area, Dr. Webb replied. But this is just one battle group. We have many more. Veltar watched in growing horror as more and more ships appeared. Some were small and fast like fighters. Others were massive, dwarfing even her own vessel. All of them bristled with weapons that seemed far too advanced for a species that had only recently learned to split atoms. I do not understand, she said. Your technology level. You should not be capable of this. You are correct, Admiral Chen agreed. By normal development patterns, we should still be using chemical rockets and simple computers. But we had 60 years to study alien technology. We had a very strong motivation to catch up quickly. Dr. Webb activated another display. It showed technical diagrams and energy readings that made Veltar's scientific training reel in confusion. We learned to reverse engineer hegemony technology, he explained. But we did not just copy it. We improved it. We made it better suited to our needs. Your needs? Dr. Kyle asked. War, Admiral Chen said simply. The hegemony were conquerors. Their technology was designed for warfare. When we studied it, We naturally focused on its military applications. One of the new human ships moved closer to the station. Veltar could see it was covered in weapon systems she could not identify. Energy readings from its hull suggested power levels that should not be possible. "That ship," she said. "What is it armed with?" "Plasma cannons, quantum torpedo launchers, gravitational pulse generators, and a few experimental weapons we prefer not to discuss," Dr. Webb replied. Veltar felt dizzy. Gravitational pulse generators were theoretical even for the Federation. They existed only in computer models and laboratory experiments. "You said experimental weapons?" Commander Thex asked, though he seemed afraid to hear the answer. Admiral Chen exchanged a look with Dr. Webb. "Perhaps it would be better to show you, rather than tell you." She activated a communication system. "This is Admiral Chen. Begin Demonstration Protocol 7. Through the windows, Veltar watched as one of the human ships moved away from the group. It positioned itself near a large asteroid that drifted in space about 50 kilometers away. "That asteroid is approximately 2 kilometers in diameter," Dr. Webb said. "Solid iron and nickel. Very dense." The human ship fired a single weapon. There was no visible beam, no energy flash. The asteroid simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next moment there was only empty space. "What did you do to it?" Veltar whispered. "Quantum disintegrator," Admiral Chen replied. "It breaks the bonds between subatomic particles." The asteroid was converted into its component quantum foam. Veltar sank into a chair, her legs no longer able to support her. This was impossible. The humans were showing her weapons that the Federation did not possess, technologies that their greatest scientists said were centuries away from development. "How?" she asked weakly. "We are very good at war," Dr. Webb said quietly. "It is something our species has always excelled at. When we learned we might need to fight for our survival among the stars, we focused all of our best minds on the problem." Admiral Chen moved to stand in front of the window, looking out at the fleet of human warships. "We spent 60 years preparing for this day, Ambassador. We built weapons that could crack planets. We developed shields that could stop stars. We created ships that could travel across the galaxy in hours." She turned back to face Veltar. "And then you arrived, offering us peace and protection. You offered to teach us technologies we mastered decades ago. You offered to protect us from threats we are better equipped to handle than you are." Veltar looked around the conference room. The other humans sat quietly, watching her reaction. They had known this moment was coming. They had planned every detail. "What do you want from us?" she asked finally. Admiral Chen smiled, but it was not an unfriendly expression. "The same thing you offered us, Ambassador. We want to be friends. We want to trade knowledge and culture. We want to explore the galaxy together. But," Dr. Webb added, "we want to do it as equals, not as your protected clients, not as primitive species under your guidance, as partners." Veltar felt her world shifting around her. Everything she thought she knew about first contact, about primitive species, about the natural order of galactic civilization, was being turned upside down. "The Federation will never accept this," she said. "A species cannot advance so far so quickly. It breaks all the established patterns." Admiral Chen nodded. "We thought you might say that. Perhaps you should send a message to your Federation leaders. Tell them about what you have seen here. And tell them," Dr. Webb added, "that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars." Ambassador Veltar sat in stunned silence as Dr. Kyle frantically worked at his portable scanner. The device was making sounds she had never heard before, beeping and chirping as it tried to analyze the human ships surrounding them. "Ambassador," Dr. Kyle whispered, his voice shaking. "These readings, they cannot be correct. What are you detecting?" she asked. Though part of her did not want to know the answer. "The power signatures from their ships are off our measurement scale. The energy readings suggest they have reactors that produce more power than our entire homeworld generates." Commander Thex leaned over to look at the scanner. "That is impossible. No ship that size could contain such reactors." Dr. Webb overheard their conversation. "You are detecting our antimatter reactors. Each of our major warships carries enough antimatter to power a small star." "Antimatter?" Dr. Kyle's voice cracked. "But the containment requirements, the safety systems. Antimatter is too dangerous for mobile platforms. Only if you do not understand how to handle it properly," Admiral Chen replied. "We have been using antimatter engines for over 20 years now." Veltar watched through the window as more human ships moved into view. Each one was different from the others, showing a variety of designs and capabilities. Some were long and sleek like swords. Others were massive and blocky like floating fortresses. All of them radiated power that her instruments could barely comprehend. "Show her the Titan class," Dr. Webb suggested. Admiral Chen nodded and spoke into her communication device. "Display position Alpha 7, please." The largest ship Veltar had ever seen moved slowly into view. It was at least 5 kilometers long, with a hull that seemed to be made of some kind of crystalline material. Energy crackled along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "That is the UES Prometheus," Admiral Chen said with obvious pride. "Our newest Titan-class dreadnought. It took us 8 years to build." What is it armed with?" Commander Thex asked weakly. "The main weapon is a stellar compression cannon," Dr. Webb replied casually. "It can create miniature stars and launch them at enemy targets." Veltar felt faint. Stellar compression was something the Federation had only theorized about. To actually weaponize the process was beyond their current capabilities. The secondary weapons include planet cracker missiles, dimensional fold torpedoes, and something we call reality distortion fields, Admiral Chen continued. "Reality distortion?" Veltar whispered. "They temporarily alter the laws of physics in a localized area," Dr. Webb explained. "Very useful against enemies who rely on conventional shielding." Dr. Kyle was staring at his scanner in disbelief. "This ship. It is reading as having the mass of a small moon, but it moves like a fighter craft."
"How is this possible?"
"Gravitational manipulation," Admiral Chen replied. "We learned to create localized gravity fields that can increase or decrease apparent mass. The Prometheus can make itself effectively massless when it needs to maneuver." Veltar tried to process what she was hearing. The humans had not just caught up to Federation technology, they had surpassed it in ways that seemed impossible. "How many ships like this do you have?" she asked. "Currently operational?" 12 Titan-class dreadnoughts, Dr. Webb replied. "But we have been building more. Our production facilities can complete one every 6 months now." "Production facilities?" Admiral Chen gestured toward another section of space. Veltar looked and saw what appeared to be a small artificial moon moving slowly among the ships. "That is Foundry Station Alpha," Admiral Chen explained. "One of our mobile shipyards. It can construct anything from small fighters to Titan-class dreadnoughts." The artificial moon was huge, easily the size of a city. As Veltar watched, she could see smaller ships entering and leaving docking bays along its surface. "We have 17 foundry stations currently in operation," Dr. Webb added, "plus construction facilities on 12 different worlds and asteroid mining operations throughout the solar system." Veltar's mind reeled. The Federation had 3 major shipyards serving over 200 member worlds. The humans had built 17 in just 60 years. "Your species," she began, then stopped. She did not know how to finish the sentence. "We are very good at building things quickly when we need to," Admiral Chen said. "War has a way of motivating rapid development." "But you are not at war," Commander Thex pointed out. "No," Admiral Chen agreed. "But we have been preparing for the possibility of war since we learned we were not alone in the galaxy." Dr. Webb brought up another display showing technical specifications that made Veltar's head spin. Ship designs, weapon systems, defensive technologies, all of it more advanced than anything in Federation databases. "We assumed that any species capable of interstellar travel might also be capable of interstellar warfare," he explained. "So we prepared for the worst possible scenarios." "What worst possible scenarios?" Veltar asked. Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. "Invasion, conquest, slavery, genocide. We studied the wreckage of that hegemony ship very carefully. We learned what they had done to other worlds." "The hegemony was destroyed by the Federation," Veltar protested. "We are peacekeepers, not conquerors." "So you say," Dr. Webb replied quietly. "But we had no way of knowing that whoever came next would be peaceful. We could only prepare for the worst and hope for the best." Through the window, Veltar watched as a squadron of human fighters performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. They seemed to teleport from one position to another, moving faster than her eyes could follow. "Quantum displacement drives," Admiral Chen noted, seeing where she was looking. "They allow our fighters to jump short distances through folded space." "You have miniaturized fold space technology?" Dr. Kyle gasped. "We had to," Dr. Webb replied. Our tactical analysis showed that conventional movement would not be sufficient against advanced opponents. Veltar realized with growing horror that the humans had not just developed advanced weapons. They had developed an entirely new philosophy of warfare. Every system, every technology, every design choice was focused on maximum combat effectiveness. "Your shields," she said suddenly. "Show me your shields." Admiral Chen nodded to Dr. Webb, who activated another control. The space around several of the human ships began to shimmer with energy barriers. But these were not like Federation shields. Instead of the simple energy barriers she was familiar with, the human shields seemed to twist and fold space itself around their ships. "Multi-layered defense systems," Dr. Webb explained. "Energy shields, physical armor, gravitational distortion fields, and quantum interference patterns. Each layer is designed to stop different types of attacks. Our tests show they can withstand direct impacts from stellar mass objects," Admiral Chen added. Veltar stared at the human fleet surrounding them. Every ship was a masterwork of military engineering, designed and built by a species that had been primitive just decades ago. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked finally. Admiral Chen turned to face her directly. "Because we want you to understand something very important. We are not the helpless primitives you expected to find. We are not looking for protection or guidance. We are looking for friends," Dr. Webb added. "But we are prepared for enemies. And we want the Federation to understand the difference," Admiral Chen concluded. Veltar looked around the room at the human faces surrounding her. They were not cruel or aggressive. They seemed like reasonable people who genuinely wanted peace. But behind their reasonable words and polite behavior, she could sense something that made her species' ancient instincts scream warnings. These humans were predators. They had built a war machine capable of challenging the entire Federation, and they had done it in the time it took most species to develop basic spaceflight. "What happens now?" she asked. Admiral Chen smiled, and for the first time her expression seemed entirely genuine. "Now, Ambassador, we begin the real negotiations." The conference room fell silent as Admiral Chen's words hung in the air. Veltar looked at the human faces around her, trying to understand what she was seeing in their expressions. They were not threatening her, but there was something in their eyes, a quiet confidence that spoke of absolute certainty in their abilities. "Real negotiations," Veltar repeated slowly. "What do you mean?" Dr. Webb stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back. "What we mean, Ambassador, is that we would like to discuss joining the Galactic Federation as full members. Not as a protected species, not as junior partners, but as equals with full voting rights and treaty-making authority." "That is unprecedented," Commander Thek said. "New species always begin with protected status. It takes centuries to earn full membership." "We understand your concerns," Admiral Chen replied, "but our situation is unprecedented as well." She moved to the window and gestured toward the human fleet. "We have the military capability to defend ourselves and our allies. We have the technology to contribute meaningfully to Federation science and industry. We have the resources to support Federation operations without requiring assistance. And most importantly," Dr. Webb added, "we have the motivation to maintain peace and stability in the galaxy." Veltar stood slowly, her legs still unsteady from the shock of everything she had seen. "The Federation Council will never accept this. The other member species will object. There are procedures, protocols." "We understand," Admiral Chen said gently. "That is why we would like you to carry a message to your Federation Council." She nodded to Dr. Webb, who produced a small crystalline device. "This contains detailed specifications for some of our technologies. Nothing military, of course, but enough to demonstrate our capabilities in other areas." Veltar took the device with trembling hands. "What other areas?" "Medical technology that can extend lifespans indefinitely," Dr. Webb began. "Energy systems that are 90% more efficient than current Federation standards. Manufacturing processes that can create materials stronger than anything currently known. We have also solved several problems that the Federation has been working on for centuries," Admiral Chen added. "Faster than light communication without quantum entanglement. Terraforming techniques that can create habitable worlds in decades instead of millennia. Artificial intelligence systems that are completely safe and controllable." Dr. Kyle looked up from his scanner. "Safe artificial intelligence? But that is theoretically impossible. The consciousness emergence problem has never been solved. We solved it 30 years ago, Dr. Webb replied. We had to. Our military systems required AI assistance, but we could not risk creating something that might turn against us. Veltar felt another wave of dizziness. Each revelation was more shocking than the last. The humans had not just achieved military superiority, they had advanced their entire civilization at an impossible rate. How? She whispered. How did you accomplish so much so quickly? Admiral Chen exchanged a look with Dr. Webb before answering. Because we had no choice. When we learned we were not alone in the galaxy, we faced a simple decision: advance rapidly or risk extinction. So we transformed our entire civilization into a research and development project, Dr. Webb continued. Every major nation on Earth contributed resources. Every brilliant mind was focused on the same goal: survival among the stars. We took risks that other species might consider reckless, Admiral Chen admitted. We experimented with dangerous technologies. We pushed the boundaries of what was considered safe or possible. And you succeeded, Veltar said quietly. Yes, Admiral Chen replied. We succeeded. Through the windows, Veltar watched as the human fleet began to demonstrate their capabilities in ways that defied everything she thought she knew about physics. Ships folded space around themselves and reappeared in different positions. Others seemed to phase in and out of reality, becoming partially transparent before solidifying again. What are they doing now? Commander Thex asked. Dimensional phase shifting, Dr. Webb replied. The ships are moving through parallel dimensions to avoid obstacles or attacks. It is very useful in combat. Parallel dimensions? Dr. Kyle's voice was barely audible. But the energy requirements are considerable, Admiral Chen agreed. That is why we developed antimatter-dark matter hybrid reactors. They provide sufficient power for dimensional manipulation. Veltar closed her eyes and tried to process everything she had learned. The humans had not just caught up to Federation technology, they had leaped far beyond it. They possessed weapons that could destroy planets, defenses that could withstand stellar attacks, and technologies that the Federation's greatest minds said were impossible. What do you want from the Federation? She asked finally. Partnership, Admiral Chen replied immediately. We want to share our knowledge and learn from yours. We want to explore the galaxy together and maintain peace among all civilized species. But we will not be anyone's subjects, Dr. Webb added firmly. We will not allow other species to dictate our development or limit our capabilities. And if the Federation refuses? Veltar asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but absolutely certain. Then we will proceed alone. We will establish our own treaties with individual worlds. We will create our own alliances and trading partnerships. The Federation cannot stop us, Dr. Webb added. We have analyzed your military capabilities. While impressive, they are not sufficient to threaten Earth or our colonies. Veltar felt a chill run through her body. You have colonies? 17 worlds and 12 star systems, Admiral Chen replied. All within 50 light-years of Earth. All defended by orbital fortresses and patrol fleets. When we learned we were not alone, we immediately began expanding outward, Dr. Webb explained. We could not risk having all of humanity on one planet if hostile aliens decided to attack. The scope of human achievement was staggering. In 60 years, they had built an interstellar empire with military capabilities that rivaled the entire Federation. We prefer cooperation to competition, Admiral Chen said. But we are prepared for either. She activated her communication system again. Begin departure sequence for all ships except the Honor Guard. Through the windows, Veltar watched as most of the human fleet began to fade from view. They were not leaving. They were returning to stealth mode, becoming invisible again. We will leave a small force visible to escort you safely from our system, Admiral Chen explained. But the rest of our ships have other duties. Other duties? Veltar asked. Patrol routes, colony defense, exploration missions, Dr. Webb listed. We are very busy people. Ambassador. Admiral Chen walked over to where Veltar sat and extended her hand in what Veltar recognized as a human gesture of friendship. We hope the Federation will choose cooperation, she said. We have much to offer each other. Veltar slowly reached out and took the human's hand. Admiral Chen's grip was firm but not threatening, warm but not aggressive. I will deliver your message, Veltar promised, but I cannot predict how the Council will respond. We understand, Admiral Chen replied. Change is always difficult, especially change as dramatic as this. Just remember one thing when you speak to your leaders, Dr. Webb added. We are offering partnership to the Federation because we believe in peace and cooperation, but we do not need the Federation's protection or approval. We are already here, Admiral Chen concluded. We are already among the stars. The only question is whether we will explore them together or separately. As Veltar prepared to return to her ship, she realized that everything had changed. The galaxy was no longer the orderly place she had known, where advanced species guided primitive ones along predictable paths of development. Humanity had rewritten the rules. They had shown that a species could advance from chemical rockets to stellar engineering in the span of a single lifetime. They had demonstrated that military necessity could drive technological development beyond all previous limits. Most importantly, they had proven that the Federation was no longer the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. As the Harmony's Grace prepared to depart Earth's solar system, Veltar looked back at the blue planet that had changed everything. The humans had offered friendship, but they had also delivered a message that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The age of human expansion had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. She only hoped that when the Federation Council received her report, they would be wise enough to choose cooperation over confrontation, because after what she had seen, Veltar was certain that humanity would continue to advance among the stars, with or without anyone's permission.